Who am I? This can be a tough question for someone that's recovering from an eating disorder. I love this video created by Cynthia Nixon. Please follow this link. This is a photo from her video that talks about the pressures of being a woman. So who are you? They tell you to be perfect, intelligent, and then you're enough. But does that really matter to you? Society puts so much pressure on who you're supposed to be, perfect grades, CEO, then you matter, then you're valuable. Darling, shall we talk about our vacation in the Hamptons as we sip our champagne? Well, not just sparkling wine, it's champagne from France. And then you're enough because you have the money, the external items. But really, what makes you the most happy in life? This has to be redefined. Are you a sex kitten? What is your sexuality? Out of all those relationships you've been in, what did you really love about the sexuality shared? Let's dive deep. Let's see who you truly are after your eating disorder is gone. Most important to me that I discovered was bliss. We all like to have fun and dance, right? And also important to me was peace. So let's talk about this a little bit more in the video. All right, so who are you? Well, I'm someone that needs to type out my agenda so I don't get too whimsical in all my ideas and my coaching. But in all honesty, when you struggle with an eating disorder, it encompasses your whole being, your mind, your body, your soul. And I know that's cliche. Everyone's like, oh, mind, body, fitness, mind, body, soul, wellness. But, I mean, as beings, that's kind of how we all relate to the components of us. So I figured this could be a simple way to just break it down and use it as talking points and life examples that may be able to help you also as you take one step forward to the next layer of healing from your eating disorder. Then you can start to analyze and say, that's me, that's not me. And then you'll take another step forward. And in the end, when you are so close to complete recovery from your eating disorder, I guarantee you'll start to ask yourself, oh my gosh, who am I? Like, I don't even know. I don't even recognize all this extra energy and mind space and freedom. And now that I have all this extra time, because I'm not stuck in my head managing my eating disorder, what do I want to do? What am I interested in? So I want to share a little bit with you what I've learned and also just give you some other little tips on recovery, on life, and wellness. So let's get started. If I look down, I'm going to try to hit some of the points. First thing is I just wrote, who am I with my mind? I am super analytical, but I'm also very philosophical and a good amount whimsical. I feel like my favorite part of me is that whimsical side because it's so different from the eating disorder side. If you've known someone with an eating disorder, you may observe them as very rigid, very uptight, kind of type A personality, and it's very true. And to be living in a body that is diagnosed with an eating disorder or hasn't been diagnosed, but you feel like you do struggle with disordered eating patterns, whatever it may be, you are in this state of anxiety and you are a prisoner in your own body. So after I was able to kind of free myself from all of those challenges, those restrictions, kind of, you feel like you're in shackles of the disorder, I got to spend more time with that whimsical side of me. And I think it's beautiful. It's artistic, it's free-flowing, it's colorful. I can give more examples, but I figure I just kind of start with the points. Analytical. So one thing that I've not really appreciated, and when I was not very good at setting boundaries in my life and appreciating who I am, which is special and unique and gifted with my own higher power, God-given gifts that I'm supposed to manifest and be proud of and then teach and share with others. Some people would say, you're in your head too much. You think too much. And now I know, actually, no, there's nothing wrong with me. That's a gift. I love to analyze. I like to break it down, think about it, look from this angle, take someone else's perspective, put myself in their shoes, think from their angle, compare it to mine. How can they help each other? What could improve? And it actually is a great thing to have. Now, when you have an eating disorder, that genetic quality of you that likes to analyze can be destructive at certain points, so we can talk a little bit more about that. But also, who am I in philosophical? I really like the idea of where did our parents come from culturally, what type of food was I raised on? Could it be that my grandmother, who is full-blood German, that's why I love butter so much? And today, when I was trying to decide what I wanted for lunch, when I looked at the leftover tuna, which, you know, the classy thin gal, she should probably want the tuna. I looked at it and I said, a cold hot dog sounds really freaking good right now. And so I went with the cold hot dog. You know, so I like to kind of philosophically trace back the roots of our DNA and, you know, like religion, culture, how you were nurtured, and also kind of tie in, if you were raised with being Christian and then you start to grow up and you're an adult, do you believe in the Christian mindset? What's good about it? What's bad about it? And I really like to kind of ask myself deeply about where this was learned. What do I think? Let's move on to body. Obviously, body can seem like the most, she has an eating disorder, she looks skeletal, or they have an eating disorder, they're obese, they must binge and eat junk food all the time, right? So body can be an obvious thing, but when you really are connected with your God-given authentic body, if you rested well, moved your body well, kind of balanced your energy flow, and you were in tune with your body, what would your body be like authentically? I always question that. What I do know right now in my life is I feel like I'm athletic. I don't run often, but maybe once or twice a week I'll jog a little bit, and then when it doesn't feel good anymore, I walk. And I always find it interesting if I'm invited to do another sport or activity that's above what I normally do with my fitness routine, I actually do pretty well. It's like, wow, you know, I'm naturally an athlete, and it feels good. It feels good to be able to jump into a soccer game and do well, to be able to hike a 3-hour hike and not feel like, oh my gosh, this was painful, I hated it, but to have kind of a baseline of athleticism. And when I was a little girl, I used to love climbing trees. And I will say, still today, when I'm out venturing through different parks, if I see a tree that looks climbable, I think about it 3 times. Like, ooh, that would be fun. Yeah. And I start to walk away a little bit. I'm like, ooh, but I could really reach that branch. I could probably climb up a little bit. I take another step and I'm like, gosh, I just want to get up on the top of the tree. I bet I could eat my lunch up there if I could get up there. So I love that side of me. Explorer. I can thank my mom for this one. When we were little, she used to take us hotel pool hopping. But I like being in my body when I'm curious. Like, what's over that hill? I want to bike a little bit further because I wonder what the view looks like over that hill. Or when I was in the Bay Area of San Francisco and I would take the Caltran, I would study the entire time on the Caltran. I was in my dietetic internship at the time. And then once I got to San Francisco, the downtown city area, I was done with my study and I was like, I get to explore this whole city anywhere I want to go. So I'd hop on a bus, I'd end up on some random beach, didn't even know the beach was there, and there would be naked people playing volleyball, and then I'm like, I want to climb up on that bluff, and I want to not be naked, but I want to get like down to my bra and underwear, it looks like a bikini, you know. I just loved like walking around Mother Nature, exploring, getting on a bus line, randomly finding, lunch somewhere else, trying something new food-wise, seeing something different, and successfully doing all of that with no exact knowledge of how it's supposed to be done, but like, you successfully, you're still alive, you had fun, you made it back to the Caltran to get back home before the Caltran closed. It was actually one time I didn't, that's a whole nother story. But I like to explore. I also like to express myself. I feel like that could be a whole video in and of itself of how I like to express using my body, but yeah, let's say that for a whole nother video. I feel like I am expressive with my body, and I also like to rest well with my body. I think when you come from a history of an eating disorder, a lot of times you overly exercise. It's a way to compensate. I ate too much, I don't want to get fat, I better go for a run. Or I can run, now I can eat that burger. It's always like, if I do this, then I can do that. So it's interesting, years later, through all of my healing, how I feel like I'm very lazy in my life. I'm not. I balance my fitness, I move my body in a way that feels good to me, that's natural to me. But when I compare it to how much I used to do so much. I'm gonna say like 70% Zen, my movement, and there's like a 30% more moderate intensity with maybe, let's say 20% moderate intensity, and then the rest is higher intensity. But back in the day, it was like 80% high intensity, and then, moderate and maybe 5% Zen. So it's interesting, and I feel like my body is the healthiest it's ever been. I feel the most beautiful I've ever been in my entire life, doing less. So my body loves to zen, to rest as well. And then lastly, we have the soul. I feel like my soul is deep, which I've asked a few people. Like, I'm just curious, as an outside perspective of me, if you had one word to define me, what would it be? And my fiance David said deep, and one of our nurse managers at work said deep. And I was like, oh my gosh, I never really saw myself as deep. Wow, that sounds intense. Am I really that intense? Because you only know yourself. Sometimes you know parts of yourself more than you obviously see other parts of yourself, and this one wasn't so obvious to me. I just thought that was kind of how people were, but I'm realizing no, it's super unique and a gift to be able to go very deep with emotions and kind of analyze and talk and discuss them. I feel like my soul is also very sensual, which I think that could tie into the video that we talk about how I like to express my body. Being sensual to me, just the idea of it feels silky. I like, Mother Nature. If I walk by a leaf that looks velvety, I have to touch it, I have to feel it. And it's just kind of that vibration that gets shared in life, where the feel is a gift, just like the taste of dessert. It's like one of those things that is just so rewarding. And I love if my soul gets to experience things that are sensual in life. I also feel like my soul is very pure. I find it very, very hard to be involved with things that are kind of darkness, are not honest, are not doing the right thing. I know I was raised Christian and I kind of learned right from wrong, but as I went through my journey of life, I got a lot of options of right and wrong, of dark and light, and we all create our own definitions of right and wrong, but I will say that it's so easy for me to be of light. I feel like my soul thrives when it's more of that pure approach. I also think I'm very understanding. I feel like I understand the dark. I admire the dark. I admire different perspective and challenge and hurt, because I understand we are the same. We are the same. We're human, of cells and DNA, of oxygen and food and rest, and I just very much love humans. I think we're so interesting and unique, and I understand, as much as me not being that person in their body, I feel like I understand as much as you could without being that person. And then I think that was the last one. I feel like I maybe typed another word, but I might have typed over my other word because it's a vintage typewriter. Anyway, I think my video is getting too long, but it's so helpful to take time just to say, who am I? I was with this person and they told me I was valuable if I had straight A's, if I only wore dresses, if I represented myself like the Duchess Kate. But that relationship's over. What did I love about that relationship, and how does that align with who I truly am? But what parts was that person's opinion that has nothing to do with me? And how do you always love and cherish all of the parts of you and not let someone take them from you? Because when you're proud of who you are, you're honoring what you need, it's easier to live in a body that's healthy. So I'm going to have to pause the video because I think it's really getting too long at this point, but we will continue on. Homework assignment is to just take time to journal or just think about it when you're driving to work. Who really are you? Out of, someone saying you need to work out 6 times a day or 6 times a week to be fit. Well, what do you think? How many times a week would you like to work out? What would feel good to you? Someone says hot dogs are horrible. Well, you should never have hot dogs in your diet. Well, what do you think? Do you like the taste of a hot dog? Someone else says you should have children. You'll change your mind. Well, right now in this phase of your life, what do you think? If no one else's opinion mattered, no matter what you say or think about yourself, you would be safe. Your life would work out. You would be happy. No matter what you think or what you say, everything would work out perfectly. Well, then who are you? I'm curious. I'm going to do a happy hour with you, and I want to hear all of your answers. All right, guys. Until next time.